Well, thank you all so much for being here for our February Tobacco Prevention and Cessation Coalition meeting. Before we get started with our agenda, I wanted to pose another icebreaker question. I really enjoy talking about memories and reminiscing, so I thought it would be really nice to do that with you all this morning. So my question to you all is, what scent takes you back to a memory, and what is that memory? So please enter your answers into the chat box. You can also unmute yourself if you'd like to speak out loud as well. Anybody at all? I'll get us started. When I smell bug spray, mosquito spray, just reminds me of being a camp counselor in the summers early on in my undergraduate degree. And so I love the smell of bug spray. Oh, I'm seeing Monica, the black ice car air freshener. Reminds her of her first car. Oh, I love that. Anybody else?
Put in the chat pine fir, because it reminds me when we used to go cut down our Christmas trees.
Love it. Oh. Soft pretzels from Roshana reminds her of being at the mall with her older sister when she was young. That's awesome.
That was a good icebreaker. It made me really think. A good one.
Right? Makes you have good feelings too. All right, I'll give it one more second, see if anyone else wants to add anything. Hopefully that gets us started on a positive note. Oh, the smell of books reminds Chantel of being in school. Those were the days, huh? All right, well, thank you all for sharing. Let's see, so let's go ahead and jump into introductions and sharing. Okay, so everyone will be called on and asked to introduce themselves briefly and share any agency announcements if they have any they'd like to share with the group. You can also put those announcements in the chat box as well. So I'll start us off. My name is Melina Rivera. I am the Tobacco Program Coordinator at Healthy Communities of LaPorte County, and I will pass it all to you all now. I'm just gonna read off of my participant list here. So Monica, you're the first one I see.
Hi, my name is Monica Dumas. I am the recruitment manager for Work One Region 1.
Thank you very much. Shirley.
Shirley DuBois, North Region Program Director for the Indiana Department of Health, Tobacco Prevention Cessation.
Thank you. Mabel.
Hello, I'm Mabel. I'm from HealthLink Outreach and Enrollment. And if anyone is interested or looking for, we are giving COVID kits at home test, and we start giving COVID vaccines and boosters. We help with a whole bunch of other stuff also. And you guys can just give us a call and we'd be more than happy to help anybody who's in need of anything.
Great, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Jenny Diaz.
Jenny Diaz, Community Marketing Representative for Care Source, covering the Northwest region.
Thank you. Chantel Johnson.
Hi, I'm Chantel Johnson, Community Relations Consultant for Anthem, and I also cover the Northwest region.
Thank you very much. See Kelly Oliver.
Hi, I'm Kelly Oliver. I am the Lung Nurse Navigator for Franciscan Health Michigan City in Chesterton. My office is located in Michigan City at the Woodland Cancer Care Center.
Thank you, Kelly. Steve Forker.
I am Sergeant Steve Forker with Michigan City Police Department. I'm in charge of our Division of Professional Standards, which includes community outreach and training. So like continuing education and whatnot for our officers. So happy to be a part.
Great, thank you for being here. Liz Pina.
Tina. I'm the Outreach and Enrollment Representative for HealthLink in Michigan City. And I'm excited to share that we are having a first ever pediatrics open house bash. This will be on March 24th from 11:30 to 1. Typically, we have baby showers in March. However, due to reconstruction going on in our conference room, we're doing a pediatrics bash upstairs instead. And again, like Mabel stated earlier, if you guys ever have questions about our services or how we can help, please feel free to reach out.
Thank you, Liz. Miranda?
Hi, everybody. My name is Miranda Fugate. I am also with HealthLink. I am at the corporate office, and I am another outreach and enrollment representative.
Thank you. Rashana Hood?
Hello, I'm Rashana. I'm the enrollment specialist with Healthy Communities of LaPorte County.
Thank you, Rashana. Nakia Bonds?
Good morning. I'm Nakia. I am the member liaison for the Indiana Medicaid programs for Anthem, whether it's Hoosier Care Connect, Healthy Indiana Plan, or Hoosier Healthwise. So if you have any members that you assist and are having issues with any of their benefits, definitely feel free to reach out to me.
Thank you, Nakia. All right, I think I went through the entire list. Is there anybody I missed? Okay, thank you all for sharing. All right. All right, everyone, I do have an announcement to share with you all. So I am actually leaving Healthy Communities of LaPorte County, which is very bittersweet. My last day will be next week on Tuesday, March 1st. I will be transitioning into a position with the Indiana Department of Health and their Tobacco Prevention and Cessation Commission. I will be their youth program manager. So rest assured, I will still be fighting this fight and working on tobacco control, but just on a state level with a youth focus. I've really enjoyed working with all of you. And I just want to thank you all so much for your support and collaboration. From starting up a specific tobacco prevention and cessation coalition to creation of subcommittees to try to be more action oriented, to starting our smoke-free air efforts. We've made a lot of progress, and I know that that progress will continue even after I'm gone with all of you great, passionate members. Sue Reed, our executive director, she will be taking over my responsibilities effective March 2nd until my position is filled. She will keep you all in the loop, and I'll make sure that you have her contact information in the follow-up email I send out. And if you are interested in the tobacco program coordinator position or know someone who might be, feel free to pass along the job description that I'll share with you all. And in addition to that, we're also looking for a part-time position we have available for the youth tobacco coordinator, which focuses in on youth prevention and empowerment. Currently, it is filled by Rose Joyner, but she right now has two major roles. And so we would like to try to find someone to take over the youth tobacco role in a part-time capacity. So I'll also add that job description to the follow-up email as well, share them widely, and let me and Sue know if you are interested. All right. So I wanted our last coalition meeting I lead to include a professional development opportunity, as I'm a really big supporter of continued learning. I'm also very passionate about health equity and reducing health disparities. So I decided to have this professional development opportunity focus on tobacco-related health inequities that impact the Black community in honor of Black History Month. So I am going to play a 15-minute documentary called Black Lives, Black Lungs, which shows how menthol tobacco ended up in the Black community. It's a really moving documentary, and the documentary was created by Lincoln Mundy. He is a passionate young person, and during his fellowship with the Truth Initiative, he created this documentary. And the Truth Initiative is America's largest nonprofit public health organization that's focused on tobacco control. So I really hope you enjoy this 15-minute video. And please let me know if you can't hear or see this video. So I'm going to go ahead and attempt to play it now. And then we'll come together and you can all tell me some highlights from the video. All right, can you all see?
3 years ago,
Can you all see the screen, the video playing?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yes.
Let me know if there's any audio issues. I'm gonna press play.
I accepted an internship with Truth Initiative. At the time, I thought I knew everything I needed to know about tobacco. Yes, it could be deadly, but my generation was rejecting it in much larger numbers. But what
Can't hear it.
Melina, we lost sound.
So you lost the sound?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Let me try not playing it from my presentation and actually pulling up YouTube and playing it from there.
directly from tobacco industry files. Three.
Okay. Hopefully.
3 years ago, I accepted an internship with Truth Initiative. At the time, I thought I knew everything I needed to know about tobacco. Yes, it could be deadly, but my generation was rejecting it in much larger numbers. But what I knew was just the beginning. Today, tobacco-related diseases are still the #1 cause of death in the African American community, and that's not a coincidence. During my time with Truth Initiative, I read dozens of research articles and stacks of internal documents directly from tobacco industry files. I learned that the tobacco industry strategically and successfully infiltrated my community. And while it's true that they targeted many groups, the targeting of the Black community has been uniquely damaging.
Critics charge that the tobacco companies view Black smokers as a growing source of income. In fact, they say, Blacks are the target of carefully plotted and highly specific marketing campaigns.
For decades, the tobacco companies have used predatory practices aim to push their deadly product onto the Black community. Practices that contribute to the approximately 45,000 Black people who will die every year from tobacco-related diseases. This film, Black Lives, Black Lungs, is part of my effort to turn my anger into action. I've set out to give voice to some of the experts and activists who spent their lives taking on the tobacco industry, because understanding the history of this 50-year plus campaign is critical for taking back the health of our community.
In high school, I became involved with tobacco control because my uncle passed away from tobacco-related diseases. And I remember him telling me when I was younger that when he first started, it was because the industry told him it would cure his asthma. And if you were to hear that statement today, you would think that's the most ludicrous thing you've ever heard. And I just felt like it was so unfair for an industry to be able to target someone like my uncle and have him die as a result. If he had known the real health effects from the get-go, he would have never picked it up. I lost my uncle to an industry who does not care about him, who does not care about the Black body. And I feel I have a responsibility to speak out against it.
Addiction is about brain chemistry, and it's about access. It's not about personal weakness. It's not about poor Black people just are going to do something anyway. It's about that you give this entity access to the brains of your children, of your people, and they become addicted.
There's nothing inherently Black about menthol cigarettes. They were invented in 1925 by Lloyd Spud Hughes. Spud created his own brand, Spud brand, which were the first widely sold menthol cigarettes in the United States. In 1932, Brown & Williamson Tobacco launched its own menthol brand, Cool. And in 1956, industry behemoth R.J. Reynolds introduced Salem, the first menthol cigarette with the filter tip. R.J. Reynolds marketed Salem as fresher, cool, and refreshing. Of course, all without any scientific proof.
Salem's special paper breathes in fresh air with every puff.
The death rates for African Americans who smoke hover around 49,000 per year. It's no accident that African Americans smoke more menthol cigarettes.
One of the greatest marketing coups that took place in the 20th century is transforming menthol cigarettes into a Black cigarette. The African Americanization of menthol cigarettes in the United States starts with finding a specialty product for African Americans following World War II. Many African Americans had moved to the North. There were specialty products being developed for them, certain hair creams, certain foodstuffs, and the tobacco industry, particularly some of them, began to realize we could market a particular brand to this group of people. Brown & Williamson conducted a number of focus groups in the late 50s and early 60s that identified that African Americans were more receptive to TV commercials, more receptive to the messages that are provided there. Brown & Williamson then took 90% of their budget and put it into television advertising because they knew African Americans would disproportionately look at that. They began to use Black images on television and in their ads. In 1953, 5% of African Americans used menthol products compared to 3% for whites. By 1968, that had tripled to 14%. By 1976, it had tripled again to over 42%. Into the 2000s, we're above 80%. That's the African Americanization of menthol cigarettes in the United States, is the targeted marketing over a half a century toward Black folks.
Let's dig in a little bit deeper and talk about how African Americans are disproportionately burdened by death and disease from tobacco, cigars, and cigarillos. When it comes to understanding it as a public health issue, I didn't know about that, or a social justice issue in particular, until I started working with TRDRP and Truth Initiative. I didn't understand that the industry had been targeting my community.
In the middle of Jim Crow, there's a civil rights battle going on, and the tobacco industry is way past that. They've got Elston Howard, catcher from the New York Yankees, Black man selling cool cigarettes. They have executives in their offices in North Carolina that they're, promoting, while Black folks can't even get a job or sit at a lunch counter. So they're way ahead of the curve.
In 1971, the Public Health Cigarette Smoking Act banned the advertising of cigarettes on TV and radio.
The tobacco industry was one of the first industries to recognize not all marketing needs to go toward white males. So it was good to see Black people in the ads and to see that there were Black models and that it wasn't all drugs and gangs. And so it was hard, you know, people saw that, they were very much attracted to that.
For decades, the tobacco industry has infiltrated the Black community, infiltrated Black institutions. In return, what the Black community got was death and disease.
We know the facts. We have the scientific knowledge that tells us that we die in larger numbers. If people stopped smoking, if people resisted using these products, it's a preventable disease. We wouldn't have to die in such large numbers. Why do some things still happen in society that we know are wrong? It's all tied to money. Why is the tobacco industry able to sell a product that will definitely, undoubtedly kill you? Because there's money tied to it. And money makes things happen.
I found myself very touched and even upset over what I was seeing because I saw lists of organizations that included organizations that I grew up in, organizations that I was currently a member of, and I had no idea that behind the scenes there were negotiations between the leaders of these organizations and tobacco companies where they were accepting money and sponsorships.
So in the summer of 1984, I was in my preventive medicine residency at Johns Hopkins. I was doing internships around the country. And so one of the organizations I did an internship was with the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation. While I was there, I was very concerned about the relationship between the CBCF and the tobacco industry. So I started talking to other interns who were there, and then also my supervisors to sort of see, you know, what can be done. Is it possible to do something from the inside? Because I knew that the effect that it was having on African Americans in general. And so what they suggested was that I write a memo to the executive director. So the memorandum reads, I am very much disturbed by the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation's policy of promoting cigarette smoking. I am especially disturbed at the free distribution of cigarettes at CBCF functions. I am requesting that you raise these issues at the CBCF Policy Board in the hope that we will adopt a policy more in line with our interest and the well-being of Black Americans. And that's how it begins.
Unfortunately, somewhere in the neighborhood of 90% of all African American civil, religious, political, social organizations take money from the tobacco industry. That's just because we ain't got no money. They're buying, they're buying the silence of these people. The Congressional Black Caucus is a multi-million-dollar foundation. And last time I looked, at least half of their members take money from the tobacco industry. Now, not all of them do. And we tried to work, of course, with the ones that don't, like Karen Bass from Los Angeles and Barbara Lee from up here, Alma Adams in North Carolina. But it's a hard sell, and it's still a hard push to get groups to speak up against the tobacco industry.
The tobacco industry has a very interesting and highly complex relationship with African Americans. Yes, the tobacco industry was the first, or among the first industries to give African Americans high-level executive jobs. They fund several Black scholarships, including the Thurgood Marshall Fund. They funded a major civil rights organization, including the NAACP, the National Urban League, the Congress on Racial Equality, and much more. They did give people in the entertainment industry their first leg up. But you can give me everything in the world, but at the end of the day, what is this industry doing? 47,000 African Americans a year die as a result of tobacco-related diseases. That is the leading cause of death in the African American community. There's not enough shiny trinkets in the world that you can give me in exchange for my life. There's not enough shiny trinkets in the world that you could give me in exchange for my brother's life, for my sister's life. It doesn't matter how much money you pump into the community. We are worth so much more. In my experience, people have been shocked to learn that, they fund so much, that their dollars reach so far. But I think that it needs to be known.
I'm sitting at my desk one day in 1998 when the Surgeon General's report comes out, first report on racial and ethnic minorities and smoking, and it just kind of slapped me in the face that African Americans were dying disproportionately of tobacco-related diseases across the board.
I was actually one of the first to start looking at what the industry had written in their own words about their plans to market their products to African American communities and looking at their relationship building with African American organizations and organizations that I was currently a member of, and I had no idea that behind the scenes there were negotiations between the leaders of these organizations and tobacco companies where they were accepting money and sponsorships. Tobacco-related diseases was really, I saw, a main cause for the health disparities that were affecting my community. I couldn't turn my back on this. I just couldn't. One of my colleagues actually saw me crying at my desk at UC San Francisco because I was just so upset over what I was seeing. And she asked a question, I wonder if others in your community would have this kind of reaction to these documents. We then got funding to do another project where we took the documents to groups of African American smokers and young people, elderly people in the community to find out if they would have a similar reaction. And it was very clear that this was information that they didn't have, that they wanted it, that they wished that they had prior to them picking up a cigarette.
I work with the group, the African American Tobacco Control Leadership Council. Our tagline is Saving Black Lives, and that at bottom, it is a social justice question. You might look at it this way: when you have the tobacco industry targeting of African Americans, disproportionately advertising in our communities, giving away free samples, menthol products are less expensive in the African American community. It's a classic definition of a social justice issue where there is a major player taking advantage of a lesser person. Now, there has been some changes. The National NAACP passed a resolution at the July convention saying that chapters could support local and state resolutions to curb or regulate menthol. This is a major breakthrough.
You know, the legislation I'm signing today represents change that's been decades in the making. Today, thanks to the work of Democrats and Republicans, healthcare and consumer advocates, the decades-long effort to protect our children from the harmful effects of tobacco has emerged victorious. Today, change has come.
It's always been an uphill battle. Look at the Black folks who fought to set up the Underground Railroad. Look at the Black folks who fought Jim Crow. If we're going to fight this, then you're in it for the long haul.
Our community is under great stress, so we need healthier lifestyles, but we don't need people dumping this poison in our neighborhoods.
If you know someone who smokes who's Black, they probably smoke menthol cigarettes. Tell their story.
I think when it comes to just living as an African American, understanding that just because of who we are, our lives are constantly at threat, whether it is racial injustice, police brutality, being denied access to things. All of these issues are layered and connected.
I made a decision at 18 that I was going to fight back, and I'm 67. I continue that fight.
Black Lives Matter, hands up, don't shoot. I can't breathe. I think we're all answering the same question. What is the worth of a Black body in the United States of America?
So that was the documentary. Let me exit out of this 1 second. Can you all see the presentation right now? Probably not. Oh.
No.
No, but that was a very powerful presentation.
Now we can.
Yes.
It really was like super, super shocking. And it's crazy that like a lot, they kept saying like if you know, people knew about this information prior to smoking, they wouldn't have smoked. So it's insane. And I wanted to ask if anything stuck out to anybody, an image, a phrase, anything you want to share with the group.
Well, I'll speak. As a Black woman myself, my dad smoked when I was younger, and he passed away years ago. But one of the things I remember him saying is, don't smoke. You know, it's kind of hard to hear your parent who's an avid smoker tell you not to smoke. And as I got older and learned more about tobacco itself, that's one thing I never have done. I have other bad habits, but that wasn't one of them. But I am a little shocked. I didn't realize how the marketing was targeted to a certain demographics of people. So I think it was very enlightening. And great choice, Melina. Great choice.
Thank you for sharing, Monica. Anybody else? I didn't catch this the first 3 times I watched the video, but I caught it right now. They did a quick clip of a banner outside, and I read the banner and it said, they used to make us pick it, but now they want us to smoke it. Which, wow, like that was very, very mind-boggling to me. When you don't think about the big picture, right? Obviously referring to slavery. It's insane stuff. And also one of the speakers, she said, the industry told her uncle that it would cure his asthma. Are you kidding me? So those are just some things that stuck out to me. Anybody else would like to share anything?
Well, I was just going to say, Melina, you know, the big industry has been using a playbook for years, as we saw. They just keep changing, you know, their plays, the defense and the offense. You know, they tried to glamorize African Americans in commercials and all over the magazines, you know, to make them feel good about the way they smoked. But to Monica's point, Monica, the sad thing is the African Americans are not the only ones they target to. They target to several marginalized populations, which again is why Melina and I have a passion for this work. You know, we're not against the people that use the tobacco product if you're 21 and you're using it legally. But boy, the big industry just, yeah, we just need to have a voice against that and what their playbook is. So thank you for sharing, and thank you for sharing your thoughts.
Thank you, Shirley. Absolutely. All right. Just one more thing I wanted to add to this conversation is that in April 2021, so last spring, the FDA finally agreed to ban menthol cigarettes and flavored cigars in response to a petition submitted 7 years prior by 19 public health organizations. And it's now a year later since they proposed that ban, and it's still, you know, is being made, like it hasn't even taken effect yet. And the rulemaking process can take years and years and years. The next step for that ban is that the FDA expects to issue proposed rules in this spring. And then at that point, the public will see the specifics of what was proposed and will have the opportunity to comment on it. And then in general, comments to proposed rule dockets may be helpful in determining what changes, if any, might be made from the proposed rule to a final rule. So what we comment on could potentially change what the specifics of the ban are. So be on the lookout for that. They said possibly in the spring we'd hear more about commenting on the proposed rule. But again, it's a long process, and who knows when that ban will actually take place. And one quick resource for this, the Center for Black Health and Equity, They are committed to the pursuit of health justice for people of African descent. And one of the issues they focus on is tobacco. And they have really great resources on their site, especially for menthol, talking points, rebuttals, suggestions, and more. So I will link that website in my follow-up email. Okay, so let's move on here. Okay. Oh. Okay, so moving forward. So we are still moving forward with deliverables as best we can, even though I am leaving. The biggest deliverable we're working on right now is point of sale tobacco marketing. The documentary we just watched is such a great segue into talking about our current tobacco retail environment assessments. These assessments help us see exactly how tobacco products are being sold and advertised here in our county. So if you do the assessments, you could see firsthand like what that scene looks like, and then you'll start making those connections like, wow, I can't believe, you know, they put tobacco products next to toys, things like that. So these assessments are, and once we gather the information from these assessments, we'll be able to use it and educate our community and also decision makers on the issue. So these assessments are really important. So we're in the middle of doing these assessments. I'm actually finishing up my retail locations today and tomorrow. And as a reminder, the deadline to submit assessments is April 1st. So we still have a little bit over a month to complete the rest of our assessments. Thank you to those who have volunteered to take on some of these assessments. And if anyone else is interested in helping us assess, please let me know. It's not too late. And then also after my departure on March 1st, please be on the lookout for emails from Sue Reed, our executive director, regarding these assessments, as well as tobacco prevention and cessation in general, and information on our coalition. Okay. Now let's move on to resource sharing. I just have a few things here I wanted to share with you all. The state has a newly updated pregnancy and smoking fact sheet, and I will attach it to the follow-up email, but it has 2020 statistics on pregnancy and smoking and lots of really great information that you can share. So feel free to utilize that. Also, the Center for Black Health and Equity recently released a free health justice training guide to address health disparities among or impacting African Americans. It's crucial to understand the relationship between tobacco and descendants of enslaved people. More importantly, we must all understand the tobacco industry in today's context of predatory marketing, disinvested communities, and persistent racism. And this guide will help us understand that. So it's a really great resource for you all. So I will link that in the follow-up email as well. And then finally, I wanted to share that there has been movement in terms of legislation on Senate Bill 382. And this bill is all about taxes. So the House of Representatives will consider amendments to Senate Bill 382 this week, as early as later today. An amendment to the bill will be filed by Representative Ann Vermillion to remove the language in the bill related to e-cigarette tax cuts and alternative nicotine. We do not want tax cuts, so we are in support of this amendment, which is amendment number 4. So please consider taking action today by calling our state representatives and asking them to support Vermillion's amendment number 4 on Senate Bill 382, which removes tobacco tax cuts from the bill. I will attach more information on this in a follow-up email, including legislator contact information and a phone script in case you'd like to call. So that is it for resource sharing.
Melina, if I can just add, without going into any detail, but for those on the meeting, if you're not familiar with how a bill goes from one chamber to the other, I won't go into that, but a bill sometimes will be, they'll get what I call, they'll creep other things into one big bill. So this is a rather large bill that they have put this insertion for the tobacco, the closed, products and the tax and the cigars. So it's not a bill by itself, if that makes sense, but a lot of times, representatives and senators don't even know when they get the bill and it's 700 pages long. They don't have time to read every word. So sometimes they don't even know certain portions have been added to a certain bill.
Thank you for adding that, Shirley. All right. That's it for resource sharing. Let's move on to some action items. So please share the 2 job descriptions I talked about earlier. I'll attach them to the follow-up email for my current tobacco program coordinator position, as well as a part-time position we have available for the youth tobacco coordinator as well. Share those widely, and if you're interested, you can contact Sue Reed, which will all be in the email. And then continue with your tobacco retail environment assessments if you're a volunteer. Deadline April 1st. And then let me know if you'd like to be a volunteer for the assessments. It's not too late. And then stay tuned for updates from Sue Reed, as I mentioned, on everything. And then reach out to me if you'd like to keep in touch. I'd love to keep in touch with you all. I'm happy to send you my personal email. I would love to hear updates from you all. All right. Oh, I went backwards. Okay. So just some closing remarks. I'm not sure that we will, or if we will be meeting next month, but I will make sure Sue Reed will keep you all in the loop about if we're meeting or not. And I'm still here until the 1st of March, so please feel free to reach out to me with any questions, comments, concerns, anything at all. And finally, just thank you all so very much for all your support. And I hope to hear that the momentum we have built over the past year continues. And just take care, everybody. It's been a pleasure. Thank you all again.
Thank you and congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, Melina, you're not going very far.
Yes. Be in the world of tobacco, so I'll be here.
Great meeting. Have a great day.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.